All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We got another chart talk coming at you. It is Tuesday, February 7th. We had one of the wildest days I've seen in a while in the market today. S&P went nuts with the up and down action. Let me go over the day's action, then we'll get a little market outlook here.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where the market opened today. Very flat all day until Jerome Powell spoke, and the initial reaction was a crazy move higher. Unrelented buying. And then he said, if we see a jump in inflation, they wouldn't hesitate to raise rates again. And that sent markets just plummeting. And then, 20 minutes later, it was all good. And we're back to high, like huge ranges, sick moves. So not an easy day out there by any means. I know a lot of people are probably frustrated. And, very easy day to be frustrated, but we're seeing the SPY right here. SPY, since it broke out of this base upwards, we're still in this momentum uptrend right now. And today just kind of proved that fact. So I'm keeping things pretty simple, and, I'm recognizing the trend line there, and I'm going with what's strong and I'm not really concerning myself with things that are relatively weak. I'm putting myself in a position to make money and buying things that are relatively strong. And I made a big adjustment this week going into the more beaten up names that we're seeing make a big comeback. And for me today, that was DocuSign. I had a great trade in, but which goes back into we were talking about last week, in the last chart talk. I'll stop sharing now. How we were deciding whether or not we should be buying these names like DocuSign, the Shopifys, the Spotifys, all the names of yesteryear that were high flyers that have since been beaten up so much. And I went through a lot of charts this weekend. I spent a lot of time doing research, and I kind of adjusted my strategy and adjusted things I'm looking at to these names that have been showing a ton of relative strength this year. And a lot of them are those names like DocuSigns. I have a huge list, probably 100, 200 names that are look really good. And we're seeing small caps lead so far this year. Will that be the case all year? Will that be the case next week? I don't know. But for now, I'm going to stick with the relative strength. I'm going to keep gravitating towards those names. So, while we're in this hyper uptrend, I'm just going to keep, aggressively trading to the long side. What are you thinking about over there?
So let me share my screen. So I took some profits yesterday. I had not a little swing, but I had for the most part, if I'm buying any of the sectors, I'm pretty much just buying and holding. But I had a decent add in the SPY up through this base. And it seems like we've broadly broken the obvious kind of downtrend or breakdown stage that the major market, the S&P, NASDAQ, that have been in for all of last year. And now that we've broken out of it, we're moving into this bigger base that was forming for, the second half of the year for most of, I'm going to try to draw it out to keep it simple. And you can't see it. All right, that does not work. But you get the idea. So this area is just the base that's been forming. And we haven't seen much action above 420 in the SPY. So I bought, a decent amount of the SPY through this 385 area. It ran up to 420, and we've seen that for the past, since April, we've barely ticked above it, except for this little blip here, end of last summer when we did. But seeing that the market is now, we're moving more in this horizontal or much bigger base within this shorter term trend. For me, I was like, all right, let me just take the gains here. I had some profits in Etsy yesterday that I would have gotten stopped out today in, that I just took, those shorter term gains from. So just up here, I'm being a little bit more cautious because we haven't traded above this area for quite some time. I expect us to break through this at some point, but given this very quick run up that we've had this past month is a great start to the year. We've seen this in the past. We've seen this great run up off of lows. We've seen it back here in the last summer, and it kind of faded. So just being a little more cautious in that kind of singles and doubles mindset. I've just been raising more cash lately. And of course, end of today looks great. But like you said, today was a very back and forth day that could be very frustrating. So taking those profits, I'm still glad that I did. But internally, a lot of the sectors all look very good. A lot of these major sectors, you mentioned the small caps, off on a phenomenal run lately. So all the sectors look very good broadly. I just think that we need to see if these sectors need to consolidate more if there's an next leg or if it needs to kind of pull back in and reset.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
So with that, Jake, what do you want to go over some top ideas, some good trades?
No, can you hear me? I just muted myself by accident.
No, I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me now. Yeah, I think it's a very fair assessment of the market. I mean, no one wants to get overconfident right now. Um, we finally see some positive action to the upside for a month straight. But a top idea, I mean, I like this UPS a lot. Yeah, let me share my screen. You see UPS daily?
Yeah.
All right. So here's the earnings reaction, followed by inside day. It broke out last Thursday, and now it's coming back to retest this breakout level right here. We can see perfect retest today. I bought some off that level. I think that one looks good. I got a lot of names on here. I'll try to pick a few. This REPL. This is a biotech. Nice little flag forming here. Momentum to the upside. Thin name, but I'm watching this 29.50 area. That looks great. Having called out this docu today, we had a great trade in it. I think it's gone for an entry now, but it's a great call out here. This 64 on the retest we see, and this is one of the names I was talking about where it's like, yes, this name is so grossly beaten up, but over the past month, it's given us that relative strength, and today it gave me a great trade. So I can't be too mad at that one. GTLB, this is one down here. You can see it kind of retest that level, holding this 50 level now. This is a huge growth name. LOVE, another one. We could see these names. They began to break out. They retested the level, and they gave us a successful retest today. So that's where I'm mostly keeping my energy and things that have had earnings. I got like 300 more names I'm looking at, so I'll keep it to those like
The
4 or
big,
5.
big list.
Yeah. What do you what can I stop the share? What you looking at over there?
All right, so we got a couple. Let's see. All right, so we got this QSR does have earnings in about a week. So this is one that I will just wait until after earnings. I'm not going to really try this for a trade. We tried this earlier. What was this? End of last month, we tried it through space. It just kind of shook us out. But through this 68.5, not blue sky breakout. I know Chip wanted to make sure that we knew that. But this is a very defined level nonetheless, going back to 2017. So post earnings, we'll definitely keep an eye through the 68.50 monster. Again, we tried it through that 104. Looking now, it seems like 105 seems to be the bigger area of resistance. We lost 2% in it, not the biggest deal, but we can see this bigger flag that's been forming. Earnings next month, probably not going to do much until then, but still one to keep on the radar. This INSP came into support today, and like I said, very tricky day, but in this nice little flag up here, there's 260 in time, looks very good. Wingstop, this 170, 180 area, both setting up very nicely. Again, this has been setting up for a couple of years now, so it's a very, very big flag here. And this KRTX, it's just starting to base out down here after that really big earnings gap up, and it does have earnings in about 10 days. But these, this isn't really beaten down because it's trading, top or right. But in the for the last few months, it's been kind of beaten down. But I think through this little breakdown, once we get out of earnings, I think this name can start to kind of wake back up, but not one to try to sneak into. Just let it break this bigger downtrend after earnings. So those are nothing this week I'm trying to do to go too crazy with, but there definitely are still some very good setups out there.
Yeah, we got a ton of earnings still to go, still coming. We got Apple, Amazon, Google last week, and Meta. For the most part, they missed. But there's still a lot of strength in tech. Semiconductors are actually still the number one performing sector this year. There's a lot of great action so far this year. So, be where the relative strength is and take advantage while we got it. My plan is to put my foot on the gas till we see that selling come in, which is kind of inevitable. It's not like, we're not calling for a new bull market or anything like that. But, what have we learned in that especially last year, is the market only gives you usually a few great months, every year. 3-4 great months if you're on a great year, So right now it's been a great month. Been pushing it. We'll continue to push it. That's that's as simple as I'm keeping it.
I like it.
It's very risk on time until it's not. Market's got to show me it's not a risk on time.
Definitely agree.
And
All
somebody
right.
tell Higgins to stop bitching every single time the market down takes 5 cents. I mean, up takes 5 cents. My God. My God. I've seen such tears.
All right, man. I think anything else you want to go over?
No, I mean, pretty simple waiting on these earnings. We got another CPI, I think a week from today. That's going to be a market mover. If now what we learned, here's the big thing we learned about the Fed last week is that if we see inflation tick up again, we're very, very likely going to see a harsh market sell off. Right now, the market is pricing in a perfect recovery, a perfect soft landing. That's why we're seeing this momentum to the upside. Stocks are trading like a new bull market's guaranteed. It's not
Mhm.
guaranteed. The market's forward looking. And then what Powell said today, we saw the up move, the down move, and the up move. The down move was because Powell said, if we see inflation tick up, we're not afraid to continue to raise rates at a faster clip again, 50 basis points, whatever he wants to do again. So, you can't discount that from happening. But we got to take this thing a week at a time. If there's anything that comes away from the soft landing narrative, I would expect stocks to have a pretty rough go about it because we're up 20% now in a couple months. So
Mhm.
got to be realistic. Unfortunately, you got to keep your eye on the news and the Fed in this market. But for the time being, enjoying the bull run that we're on.
Of course. I like it a lot. I think
That's
with
it.
that
I'll get
shake, I
out of
think,
here. I can fucking sit in this chair, sweating my ass off all day.
I mean, we still have some work after this, but I think we're done here.
All right. Well, see you guys next week after the CPI.